Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Coffman. Welcome to our 96th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We're holding by Parshas Shoftim. Parshas Shoftim speaks about the establishment of just courts, talks about death penalty for an idol worshiper, talks about rebellious elder, a king in the land of Israel, the priestly gifts, prophecy, cities of refuge. Talks about a lot of different topics. One thing I want to see and go through is about the rebellious elder. So it says in chapter 17, chapter 17 verse 8, let's go through it a little bit here. It says, it's a matter of judgment is hidden from you. Between blood and blood, between verdict and verdict, between plague and plague, matters of dispute in your cities. You shall rise up, ascend to that place that Hashem your God shall choose. You shall come to the Kohanim, the Levites, to the judge who will be in those days. You shall inquire, they will tell you the word of judgment. You shall do according to the word that they will tell you. From that place that Hashem will choose, you shall be careful to do according to everything that they will teach you. According to the teaching they will teach you, and according to the judgment they will say to you, shall you do. You shall not deviate from the word that they will tell you, right or left. And now this is the point I want to get to. Verse 12, and the man who shall act with willfulness, not listening to the Kohen who stands there to serve Hashem, your God, or to the judge, that man shall die. You shall destroy the evil from among Israel. The entire nation shall listen and fear. They shall not act willfully anymore. So that is book of Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 8 to 13. Now this is speaking about Zakein Mamre, a rebellious elder, which basically there's a disagreement of opinion. There's a law, and there's a disagreement, and the mitzvah is you go according to the majority. So you can't have one of the elders, one of the great rabbis say, I'm not going to go according to the majority, and because he doesn't do it, he is liable for the death penalty. So comes Mori Rabbi, Rav Agon, Ramosh Shlita, should be well. And he brings down in Tam Vadas, he says, the rabbis tell us the following. He says that this Zakein Mamre, this elder, that he's a great rabbinic scholar from one of the leaders, one of the wise of the Jewish people. And he comes to a disagreement, right, with other rabbis. He comes to disagreement on one of the laws with the Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin learned one way, and the majority agree to go one direction, and he disagrees. And he doesn't listen. And he holds, and he tells others, don't listen to them, you should listen to me. Right? He disagrees, and he holds differently. Now, here, what does he do? He's not willing to concede to the Sanhedrin. In other words, Sanhedrin learn one way, he disagrees, and he's not willing to go according to the way the Sanhedrin goes. And he gets killed. Right? Even though he's wise, even though he's a rabbinic scholar, the fact that he's brazen enough to go against the Sanhedrin, he goes against the Sanhedrin, and what happens? Liable for death penalty. So my Rabbi here points out that this is an unbelievable thing to fathom, because we're not talking about a case where this wise person made a mistake. Right? It's not like he made a mistake in the mitzvah. Maybe there was a certain commentary he didn't know, or whatever the case is, and therefore he disagrees with his colleagues. Right? We're not talking about a case like that. Here he's doing it on purpose. He's not willing to concede to the Torah giants of that generation. So So Rabbi here points out a very important thing. From the time that the Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah was passed down to the rabbis of that generation. Meaning that there were great rabbis in every generation. And you have to go according to what the great rabbis say. You have to go according to the majority. Right? That's how it works. That's how it's worked for all generations. So here, now you get a rabbinic scholar. Right? We're not saying that, he doesn't know anything. We're talking about a rabbinic scholar here. And he disagrees. And he holds differently. But not only does he hold differently, he spells it out. He goes differently than the Sanhedrin. So he says this goes against, and it's a hard thing to fathom, because you're talking about a rabbinic scholar, tremendous rabbinic scholar. So what he's doing is saying, okay, the Sanhedrin has their opinion. I have my opinion. I think I'm right. Again, he's not a Reformed Jew and he's not a Karaite. He's somebody that is a tremendous rabbinic scholar. He's not willing, though, to concede that you should go according to the majority. And even if he thinks he's right, still has to go according to the majority. That is the essence, or one of the main tenets and foundations of Torah. And he has to be killed in front of everybody. So this really boggles the mind. Because here somebody comes along, has his own opinion. His own opinion is tremendously valid. That we're not arguing. But he goes against the great rabbis of that generation, saying he knows better. And he goes against the majority. So says the Torah, you can't go against the majority. You can't think that you're right, even when the majority says you're not right. And you have to concede. Oh, you're not willing to concede? You want to hold the way you want to hold against the Sanhedrin? Well, we're going to make an example out of you. The Torah says he's killed in front of everybody. So he brings down further to explain that the essence of this law is that the Torah Shebaal Peh, rabbinic law, or what we call oral tradition, right, was supposed to be passed down orally. Now, because of the pogroms and Jewish people being thrown out of the land of Israel, it couldn't be passed down orally. It had to be passed down, it had to finally be written down. But the whole point was to transmit it orally, generation to generation. That was what was supposed to be done. The fact that the Jews were being persecuted and there was genuine fear that the Torah would be forgotten, so it was allowed to be written down. Now, the essence of learning Torah and of learning oral tradition is that we have a tradition that's passed down generation to generation, right, from the rabbinic scholars of that generation. And we learn out from here the crucial point that even if someone is great in knowledge, they have to go according to the majority. Right? In order to get to the truth, even if you think they're right, nonetheless, you cannot go against the majority. If it's something you made a mistake, okay. Right? If it's something he didn't know. If there was a source that he didn't know, he didn't hear about it, whatever the case is. Here he does something on purpose. So the essence of what we're saying here is that it's forbidden and he's liable for the death penalty for the sole reason that he's not willing to concede to the majority. So each generation has its rabbinic scholars, and we go according to those Torah giants of that generation. And someone can't come along, even, he's one of the Torah giants, he can't come along and go against what everyone else says. Right? He certainly can't tell people this is what you should do, which goes against everyone else. So this is a fundamental thing. This is a fundamental thing that needs a little bit further clarification. Now, when we look at oral tradition, many people have an issue with oral tradition. We've spoken about oral tradition in a number of videos. And, oral tradition, people will say, oh, the rabbis say this and it's corrupt, and the rabbis have all kinds of crazy things that they're saying. It's God forbid, et cetera, et cetera. Why should we listen to them? Certainly Christians coming out of Christianity, since they've been duped by man, why should they listen to other men? Right? Makes sense in a certain way. Right? Why should we listen to them? Now, we've spoken before the authenticity, of oral tradition, the fact that it's not a big game of telephone, and who these people were. We've spoken about all that, but there is an important idea, as my Rabbi here points out, I think it's good to flush out. And, this aspect of oral tradition is telling us that even if that person's a great rabbi in his own right, but other rabbis go against him, and we're talking about something for good, not for bad, right? In other words, it can't be something that's forbidden. They say, oh, go like us because the Torah says you have to go after the majority. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where it's something good, something beneficial. So you have great rabbis in every generation, who are the final authorities. And, if a question comes before them and they give the answer, so, we have to listen. We have to listen to what they tell us. So in every generation, you have great rabbis like that. So someone else who's just as great, let's say you have a Torah giant just as great, but there are others that disagree. If there are others that disagree, then, like in this case, like the Sanhedrin, where the Sanhedrin would disagree, a person cannot be brazen enough and say, I know better than the Sanhedrin. Right? I know better, so I'm going to go against, not only, am I not going to keep my mouth shut and just do what I want to do, but I'm going to tell others to go against what the Sanhedrin says. So the Torah says no. Torah says adkan, right? Up until this point, this is not going to happen. Because then the structure of the way Torah is passed down, seemingly gets uprooted. And if it gets uprooted, then that's a recipe for disaster. So here, people have to know that, as much knowledge as, as a rabbi may have, and as great as he may be, he cannot go, against what everyone else does, even if he thinks is right. The famous story the Talmud tells by Rabbi Eliezer against the Chachamim, Rabbi Eliezer against the rabbis, where Rabbi Eliezer says, if the halach is not like me, let the river go backwards, river goes backwards. If the halach is like me, let this tree be uprooted. Tree gets uprooted. Then the Gemara says, if the halach is like me, let the walls of the base of Medrash come down. They start to shake, and the rabbis say, Lo b'shamayim. The rabbis say that the Torah is not in heaven. In other words, there was a baskol, there was a heavenly voice that said that we hold in every case like Rabbi Eliezer. Why don't you paskin? Why don't you decide Jewish law like him? You should listen to him. And the rabbis say that the Torah is given to us. It's given to us to judge. We have a majority, and the majority rules. Right? That's one of your principles. Majority rules. So even though you guard yourself, now this is pretty amazing. Now the rabbis say, you guard yourself, hold like Rabbi Eliezer. That's very nice. But we have a majority against him. So we hold according to us, not according to him. Even if there's a heavenly voice, we hold according to us. Right? That's not chutzpah. That's not saying, oh God, just go back in your corner. Go, play with the Leviathan, or go play with Saturn. Go make another solar eclipse. Go do all these other, things. This is for us to interpret, not you. Right? So, scram. Get away. This is our boundaries. This is what we say. And you have to listen to what we say. So what does the Talmud answer? Does God burn them up? No. God says, my children have beaten me my children have beaten me. So that needs further explanation what that means, how God can get beat and whatever. But the point is that the Talmud makes a very significant point. And the point is, even if there's a heavenly voice that says that the halacha is like the minority opinion, not the majority opinion, we don't listen. Why don't we listen? Because the Torah is not in heaven. Lo b'shamayim, it's not in heaven. If the Torah is not in heaven, we hold according to laws that we hold today. So you have to go according to the majority. We are the majority. If we're the majority, that's it. So here you see an unbelievable thing. That even if God himself comes down, and he comes out through a heavenly voice, you have to hold like this. The Chachamim say, the rabbis tell us, no. Why not? Because Torah is given to man. It's given to us to interpret. Right? Torah Shabbat Peh, that oral traditions passed down, was given at the same time at Mount Sinai. It's given for us, and it's passed down. So if it's given to us and passed down, we have the right to make decisions. Obviously can't go against what the Torah says. So, in this case, this minority view, with God behind it, loses. It loses because you have to go according to the majority. So the rabbis are teaching God, quote unquote, a lesson. It says in your Torah you have to go according to the majority. So what are you doing telling me Allah is like Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer is a yachid, he's alone against the majority. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We hold according to the majority. So this is something that a lot of people have difficulty with. And the reason is because outside of Jewish law, outside of halacha, people think I can do what I want. The Torah is made in my own image. I'm just as great as Rashi. God forbid. I'm just as great as the Rambam. Rambam has his opinion. I have my opinion. Well, I think probably it's a little bit of a stretch, which I don't think so, but I think the Rambam and Rashi knew a billion times more than we'll see in 10 lifetimes, or 20 lifetimes, or billion lifetimes. Right? These are special individuals. The rabbis of the Talmud were pretty special individuals. So that being said, we have to learn what they say. And there are general rules how we hold. If there's a disagreement between Rav and Abaye, who we hold like. If there's a disagreement between house of Hill and the house of Shammai, who do we go like? There's a disagreement between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, who do we go like? There are general rules. So if there are general rules, you can't just say, well, I'm going to go against the rules. I'm going to go against how the whole system was set up. It was set up in a certain way for a reason. We may not fathom all the reasons. Right? But there's a hierarchy. There are things that apply, and then sometimes things don't apply. Right? Sometimes you can have a minority opinion. If it's got a base in a previous generation, can overcome other opinions in that generation. When, what, where, how, okay, that's up for discussion. Right? But there are times certain things may be superseded based on other criteria. Again, this is not a Reform and conservative Jew saying, I think this and I think that and I can do what I want. Right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about, how Jewish law works. How it was passed down. What the hierarchy is. Who we hold by and why not. So we have to see how it works. We have to see what the criteria is. Then we can make decisions. Then we can see what the ramifications are. Then we can see, do we have precedent or don't we have precedent? But see, make no mistake, a person's opinion cannot go against the vast majority, of rabbinic scholars of that generation, regardless of how great they are. Majority rules. It's so vital, it's so strong, that the Torah has to make an example, of this rebellious elder, the Zaken Mamre, that the Torah says he has to be killed in public. Now, you could ask, like, what was he thinking? What was he thinking going against the majority? Could be, let's say he's greater than all the other rabbis in knowledge. Now, he's not claiming, now, this is what he can't claim. He can't claim, if they missed, like, another Mishnah, another source that they didn't know about, he's got a legitimate claim. Right? If they missed a source, a main source. But if they didn't miss the main source and he thinks he's right, because he's greater than them, even if that's true, it doesn't uproot the Sanhedrin. It doesn't uproot, any rabbinical court. For the sole reason you have to go according to the majority unless there's an egregious mistake. But in this case, we're not talking about an egregious mistake. We're talking about he refused to go according to the majority because he believed he was right. So in a certain way, we call that gaiva, right? That's called hubris. That's being conceited. That's thinking you're greater than everybody else. Now, even if that's true, then what we have is, we have someone saying, I know better. I know better than all these people. And not only do I know better, because this is where the problem comes in, he says, I know better, and I'm not going to listen. Now that is the crux of the issue. By saying they're not going to listen, and they're going to do whatever they feel like doing, so that's out of the category of being in Torah. That's not Torah anymore. That's Torah made in my own image, which we've spoken about a lot. That's saying I know better than everybody else. So to be a rabbinic scholar, certainly you have to have knowledge. You have to have a tremendous amount of knowledge. At the same time, you need humility. Humility is crucial. Person has to have a gav. They have to have, a shoulder. They have to have, belief in themselves, in what they know and who they are. Right? They have to have self-esteem, very strong self-esteem. But you can't have such strong self-esteem where you just throw everybody by the wayside. And you say, I know better, they're all wrong, I'm going to do what I want. That you can't do. Because what that does is it makes a very dangerous precedent. What that will lead to is other people doing the same thing. They'll think they have the same amount of knowledge or more. And, if the majority they think are mistaken, again, it's not an egregious mistake, that, there's a source that they're missing or whatever. Right? Maybe it's an argument in logic or whatever the case is. But they're coming along to say, I know better, they're wrong, and I'm going to go against them. That means that, in such a case, you could have a number of Torahs within the world of Judaism. This rabbi has his Torah, his interpretation. This rabbi has his interpretation. Third one has his interpretation. They go against each other. So the Torah looks different. So if you look at Jewish law and how it's evolved and how it's been passed down, even though there are different customs, there are some different customs between Ashkenazic Jews and Sephardic Jews and Yemenite Jews. 99% of all Judaism, they all agree. They all agree in Jewish philosophy. There are different customs, I agree. But they're not doing what they want when they want. They have a tradition. Tradition! They have a tradition. So you can't take that away. It doesn't mean they think, These other communities, a bunch of heretics, a bunch of rebels, they're not doing what should be done. They're different customs. Having different customs is a long way from saying we disagree in the essence of what Torah is. Do they believe that God gave the Torah to Moshe, passed it down? Yeah. Is God omnipotent, omniscient? He can do anything, right? He knows everything. He knows the thoughts of all men? Yeah. Moshe is the greatest prophet? Yeah. Jews came out of Egypt? Yeah. God did the miracles? Yeah. All these things, they agree. Again, with different customs, fine. But they're holding within the same parameters. All right, that is crucial. Because if you're outside those parameters, and you say, I'm going to do what I want, I don't care what these rabbis say, I'm going to do what I want, I'll make it up as I go along, that's not Torah anymore. That's Torah made up in your own mind. And this is where people make the mistake. They, this rabbi has his opinion, that rabbi has their opinion. There's precedent, though. There's precedent of, different things in the Talmud and how we hold and what we do. So it's universal. It's not like everyone's got their own Torah and they're doing what they want. Yeah, there are different communities. There's a Hasidic community, there's an Ashkenazi community, there's a Litvish, there's a Lithuanian community. There are all kinds of different Jewish, communities within the Orthodox world. But 99% of all Jewish thought, they agree. In Jewish practice, they agree. It has to be universal. If it's not universal, then we see what the Reform and Conservative movements look like. It's all about doing what I want to do. It has nothing to do with Torah. I can never do this. I can never be Orthodox. I'm a feminist. I'm somebody that believes in women's rights. Well, does women's rights fit in the Torah? How do we view women? Right? We just prejudice against women. So, obviously we hold women in high esteem. Just because they may not have public roles, doesn't mean we don't hold them in high esteem. That being said, everyone has a role, but it has to be within the boundaries and the parameters of what Torah is. Once, quote-unquote, rabbis start saying, I don't like this and I don't like that, let's take this out, take that out, we'll change it, this. That's not Torah anymore. That is not what the Talmud does. That's not what oral tradition is. Oral tradition is trying to figure out what the Torah says. Right? The Mishnah is a commentary on the Torah. Gemara is a commentary on the Mishnah. The Mishnah and the Gemara compose the Talmud. Now that being said, it has to be understood. And we have to analyze. What does the text say? What are the ramifications? What do the early commentaries say? What do the later commentaries say? Right? We have to look into these things. Right? It's an in-depth process. It's not a 10-minute, exposition, so to speak. You have to think. Some things are easier, some things more difficult. We have to see how it's passed down. What the commentaries tell us. And then practically speaking, what we do. In the later generations. So things haven't changed all that much in that sense. Because since the Beis Yosef came around, Rav Yosef Karo, 1700s, codified Jewish law based on the Rambam, based on the way the Rambam set it up. And then you have commentaries on the Beis Yosef, and they have, later commentaries to how we hold today. So Beis Yosef was for the Sephardim. The Ramah, Moshe Isserlis, chief rabbi of Krakow, of Poland, right? He gave his glosses on the Shulchan Aruch, on the Code of Jewish Law, for Ashkenazim. And there are things that Ashkenazim and Sephardic people definitely agree on. Right? He points out discrepancies. Then you have the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah released on the laws of everyday life, laws of Shabbos, laws of prayer, laws of blessings. So it was written by the Chaim. And the entire Jewish world holds the Chofetz Chaim. Right? Everybody holds the Chofetz Chaim. Now, it could be there's certain things that disagree. You can have disagreements. But the vast majority, we agree. So we have to understand there's precedent. We have to understand this hierarchy, right? And how we hold and what we do within Jewish law. So if we understand that, and we're analyzing, then we get to the bottom line. Just about everybody should agree. Again, there will be discrepancies. I agree. There will be discrepancies in different communities. With certain things. But 99% they agree. And it comes down to the same thing. Not about picking and choosing. It's not about saying, I think this and I think that and I'll do what I think. If your position is within Torah, fine. If you have who to rely on that agrees with you, fine. I mean, you can't just do, even if you have someone agree with you from previous generations, doesn't mean you can go against everybody else. You got to do what everybody does. Because once you start to move those boundaries, then that's it. You open up a Pandora's box. And when you open up a Pandora's box, it's impossible to shut. Once you make a chink in the armor, so then it goes haywire. And that we've seen by some splinter quote-unquote Orthodox groups, which aren't so Orthodox. They'll say they believe in Jewish law and halakha and all that, but the essence is they don't. Because they back things to be politically correct that are wrong. How could you have an Orthodox rabbi be part of a gay and lesbian parade? Right? How would it be? Torah says that being homosexual is an abomination, not the person, the act. Not really any way to get around that. I mean, anyone wants to delve further in the subject, it's my first video I did on controversial issues with Tanakh Talk. You just go to YouTube, search YouTube for Tanakh Talk, T-E-N-A-K-T-A-L-K, and my name, Rabbi Chaim Coffman, controversial issues, homosexuality. We did a whole show. That was the first show we did. Pretty clear, homosexuality is forbidden. So if someone's an Orthodox Jew, a rabbi, no doubt, how can they give the stamp of approval on something like that? What makes that rabbi Orthodox if he disagrees with what the Torah says explicitly? It's not like, well, there's a third opinion, it's Webster, Oxford's third opinion, blah, blah, blah. Not true. It's clear as day. Clear as day. That being said, you're gonna march with them, show solidarity, right? We should be jumping up and down, making a protest, obviously a peaceful protest, showing that you prance around in the palace of the king. There's gonna be payback. There's gonna be serious payback. So if the Jews don't protest, even if nothing's gonna change, they're still gonna do it. If they don't protest, it's like God says, oh, I didn't have anybody down there that said there was anything wrong with it. It's an explicit verse in the Torah. Even if no one's going to listen, doesn't matter. Did anyone show disapproval? Did anyone disagree? Because if you don't show a protest, then it's like you agree. You say, aye, but nothing's going to change. They're going to parade anyway. You understand what's going on? In the holiest city of the world, where the Beis HaMikdash stood, where the Holy Temple was, all we have left is the outer wall. With all that being said, with all the holiness, You allow this to happen without any protest at all? Without saying that it's a bad thing? At least God should look down and say, oh, at least I got people who hold by what I say. The one thing you do in Miami, it's a whole nother beast if you do it in the holiest place in the world where God's presence was. And if I were God, thank God I'm not, but if I were, I'd be pretty ticked off. Something like that, no one makes a peep, nobody says anything. Gotta have a backbone. It has nothing to do with being politically correct. You're not allowed to hate the person. But the act is called an abomination. If the act is called an abomination, you can't let this parade, even if it's going to continue anyway. You can't let it go without anybody saying, without anybody protesting. And just showing that it's wrong. You are saying it's wrong. But in God's backyard, in the holiest place of the world, if I was God, thank God I'm not, there'd be tremendous payback. The person has to know when to stick up also. You have to stick up for things. You have to stick up for the Torah, even if it's not going to change anything. It has to bother us. It has to bother us that people don't care. And they just want to flaunt, their lifestyle and say it's okay and you have to back it. Well, Torah says not that way. Have to defend the Torah. So, there has to be precedent. There has to be hierarchy. We have to know what to do and how to hold and all that. But you can't go outside the boundaries. Right? We've spoken about this a lot. But it always bears repeating. Because there are a lot of quacks out there. There are a lot of people who claim, they're holding by Torah or whatever, and it's not true. They don't have rabbinic guidance. They're doing things on their own. They will call people out if you disagree with them, which is totally ludicrous, right? Because, okay, you want to have your own opinion, and you're a small group, and you want to show the world that you're right. So whoever disagrees with you, you trash them. That's the Torah way? No, it's like vigilantism. It's like being a thug. That's what it is. It's like being a virtual thug. You want to be a virtual thug? Fine. But I would say, show me the proof. Show me the rabbinic authorities that hold by it, that are worth their weight as a rabbinic authority. You don't got them, but you want to call people out because you think you know better? No different than a Zaken Mamre. Right? You're no different. I mean, this is if you are a rabbinic scholar. Right? If you're this big rabbinical scholar and this is what you do, that's the same thing. You're flaunting, I think I'm right, and you have no backing. Even if you want to quote, you're an Orthodox Jew, you have no backing. If you have no backing and no rabbinical authority behind you, is there any difference between what we're speaking about now? About this Zaken Mamre going against everybody else? When the vast majority of people say, rabbinic scholars say no. But you say, I don't care. I'm right. And if you disagree with me, I will trash you all over social media. So let me ask, does that show humility? Does that show what a rabbi should do? I mean, his followers, one thing. Rabble-rousers, rabble-rousers. But that's what a rabbinic authority should do. Think they're right and everyone else is wrong and they can all go to hell? And you can call everybody out? No, that's not Torah. That's scary. That's called thugism. It's being a thug. A Torah thug. I think I just claimed a new word here. A Torah thug! So be a Torah thug. You're not authentic. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. You're just a pretender. Pretenders don't belong in Judaism. We've had enough false messiahs. We've had enough people trying to destroy Judaism from within. We don't need quote-unquote rabbinic authorities, or they think they're rabbinic authorities. Do what they want. Give another example. You take someone who does conversions, and they're doing conversions based on, whatever they're doing them on, whatever they're based on. Let's say it's under Orthodox auspices. Let's say. I'll be nice. Now, what happens when you do a conversion and you don't care if it's only recognized by you? What does that tell you? What that tells you is, I know better, right? Me, myself, and I, we know better. All three of us, and my alter egos. If the rabbinic supervision of this conversion is only accepted by you, and no other rabbinical court in the world, you're not doing a service to these people. You're creating more problems. Because, you have 3 kosher Jews. If their mitzvahs are taken on, it could be okay. Right? In theory, it could be okay. But see, that lacks humility. That says, I don't care about the establishment. I don't care what the majority think. I don't care what other rabbinical courts say. I know I'm right. And because I know I'm right, I'm going to do this. Well, shouldn't we be all more inclusive? Shouldn't we try and fulfill the highest standard? And I'm not saying this is not necessarily a high standard. What I'm saying is, let it be accepted by more people, by more rabbinical courts. If you let it be accepted by more rabbinical courts, you're more inclusive. But don't say, I know better. Don't say, I'm conceited and I don't need your rabbinic supervision. I don't need your beis din to agree what I did was right. I know what I did was right. That's wrong. That's just being conceited. Like this conservative Reconstructionist rabbi at a wedding. Right? He's at a wedding. Says, at a funeral. And this person comes up and says, oh, Rabbi, I see you don't have your book. He's not making fun of him. He says, I see you don't have your rabbinic book. Here, you can borrow mine. This rabbi looks at him and he says, I don't want to call him rabbi. This person looks at him and he says, you give me a book? I don't need your book. I write books. Yeah. He's an idiot. He's 100% an idiot, and he's not Orthodox by any stretch. Someone who knows better. Someone who's been trained in Torah. Properly. How in the world can you say, I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and everyone else can go to hell? That's the same thing as a Zaken Mamre. Not exactly, but very, very similar. Where this great rabbinical authority says, I'm right, I don't care what the Sanhedrin says, I'm going to do what I want. For that, you take him out and you kill him. You use him as an example. Doesn't matter how much knowledge you have. You missed the boat on one important character trait. You know what that important character trait is? That character trait is called humility. And if the majority disagree with you, you have to lay yourself down. You have to say, okay, I give in, because I have to. That's how rabbinic authority works. Can't go against the world. Can't say I'm right, everyone else is wrong, they can go to hell, and I'm going to call out everybody on social media. It's a sore loser. It shows you have no respect for Torah. You have no respect for authority except for yourself. So when you believe in yourself, and you believe I'm right no matter what, that's not Torah anymore. Oh, I'm going to call people out. I'm going to show I'm right. No, you're a baby. That's what you are. You're a rabbinic baby. Because you got no backbone. Because no one backs you. But you're going to say, I have the right anyway. And I don't care. And if you disagree, I'm going to trash you. So let me ask you. Somebody does that. That should be a rabbinic scholar I should respect. That's someone I should follow. Says the Talmud explicitly. A rabbi you learn under has to be similar to an angel. Nobody's perfect, true. But he has to be exemplary. Not only in his knowledge, but how he deals with others. And if this is the way, quote unquote, some rabbinical authorities deal with others, they're not rabbinical authorities. They're doing things the way they feel they should. And they don't care what anyone else says. So in my language, I just coined a new term, put it on a t-shirt, got a patent it, don't anyone patent it, because I'm going to sue you if you do it, and that's called your rabbinical baby. You want to be a rabbinical baby? Go ahead. Go suck your thumb. Now, and tell everyone how right you are when you have nobody behind you at all. And that's pretty scary. So today we live in a generation of tremendous chutzpah. Right? That's what the Talmud says, one of the signs that we're very close to the end of days. Right? We're very close to this war of Gog and Magog, if there's going to be one. Right? When the Messiah comes. I mean, is there no greater chutzpah than that? My Rabbi, told me a number of times. He says, better to say I don't know than give a bad answer. Don't always have to have the answer. But for goodness sakes, you have to have who you rely on. You have to have your rabbinical authority who backs you. Who will vouch for you. That's someone who's legit in the eyes of everybody. You can't just do what you want. You have to show humility. And even if it's hard, even if it's things we don't necessarily agree on, I would rather be all-inclusive than saying, well, I'm just going to do what I want, everyone else can go to hell. If I have a lot more people that agree with what I do, doesn't that make it more powerful? Doesn't it show more legitimacy? Certainly does. You got this rabbi, this rabbinical court, all these people backing you that are legit. When you have something like that, that's the power of Torah. That's rabbinic authority. What we spoke about before, no. That's not rabbinic authority. That's being a rabbinical baby. So I just want to remind everyone, I made a course. It's called Discover Your Biblical Path, where people coming out of Christianity or any other paganism can make a decision if they want to be a Noahide or they want to convert. So I spoke there 6 modules. One about what it means to be a Jew, went through some of the holidays, about Shabbos a little bit, spoke about Noahides, what it means to be a Noahide, also rabbinic what it means to find a rabbi, find a community. And I have 7 interviews of people that either converted in the process of conversion or Noahides. That's called Discover Your Biblical Path. You can find that my Facebook fan page, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or my blog, orthodoxconversion.com. I also give conversion classes and Noahide classes every Tuesday night. I have a class on what I call Intro to Kabbalah. We're speaking about prayer and how prayer works in mystical ways and the order of the day and the holidays, which we're going to speak about. That's every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock New York time. And Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the morning, and Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a question and answer session. Anyone can come, ask whatever questions that they want. And every other Wednesday night, where I'm live on Tanakh Talk. That's 8 p.m. Wednesday night. That'll be tomorrow night, Wednesday night. controversial issues. Topic for this week is being a Noahide a sham. Right, should be an interesting topic. And anyone has any questions, they can certainly send me an email at rabbichaimkoffman@gmail.com. RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wishing everyone a great Shabbos.